Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so there was a comment in one of my videos pointing me to a channel. Brian R. has a YouTube channel, and he has just picked up his first Rolex. Link in the description to that video. The Rolex 6694, which that's like a... They probably produced it for decades. I want to say 70s, 80s, maybe even 90s. It's a manual line, 34 millimeter, very Datejust-esque looking watch. Has a smooth bezel, and that's really all I know about it. But you can get those on the secondhand market for, well, from $1,000, I guess, all the way to, minty examples for, I'd say maybe $4. I'm just guessing. You don't really see minty examples. You see, older pieces. You find them a lot. The real cheaper options have no bracelet. They'll come on some third-party leather bracelet, but his has the oyster bracelet, and it's his first Rolex. He's 22 years old, which is great. Good for you, Brian. Starting young, and that's probably the perfect age for a Rolex, and that's a great Rolex to start out with. It's a great Rolex for a 22-year-old. It's not too much Rolex. There's I know if I had a 22-year-old and if I had all the money in the world, I probably still wouldn't recommend them having, something like a Batman. It's just a little too much watch, in my opinion. Well, first off, I wish I had gotten into watches when I was, in my 20s. I've only been into watches, I want to say 3 years now, and Brian will enjoy that watch for decades, and he'll, by the time he's my age, he'll have had a great watch on his wrist for a long time, and years and years of enjoyment. So I really wish I had gotten into horology earlier, just because it's such a pleasure. I enjoy so much, and to think that's just decades of horological enjoyment that I wasn't even aware of. I was into other things, though, right? He suggested this topic: starter Rolexes. Make a video about starter Rolexes and the idea of somebody starting out with a Rolex and what should they start out with. Now, let me just say that if you're talking, I'm looking at this parking lot over here with motorcycles. If you're talking motorcycles, I can understand wanting to ease yourself into it. Start out with a 50cc scooter, move on to 125cc, and then work your way up to a 1000cc motorbike. Probably wouldn't want to start out with a 1000cc motorbike. You could get yourself killed. But watches really aren't like that. I think that you can go pretty much whole hog right off the bat, and that might be good in the long run. So, I have talked about my history when it comes to watches, and how I started out with a Orient Blue Mako, $160 watch, and then I went straight to the No Date Sub. And I really think that's the way to do it. I think when you get into this hobby, you're going to probably want to try out a mechanical watch, and so get something cheap. Again, $200 or less. A Vostok is a good choice. Seikos are good choices. Orients are good choices. There are a lot of good choices, but I'd keep it under $200, because this is just a trial watch. That's what I think that first mechanical watch should be. And then while you're trying out the mechanical watch, I think you should search and decide what you want to buy, and really identify your grail, and honestly, I think you should go for your grail. I think you should start saving, and you should go for what really turns you on. I don't think you should work your way up. You know, when I had my sub, and I knew I wanted to get the Explorer 2, I remember running across a $2,000 Air King in a secondhand shop, and I was really tempted. I think I had saved up about half the money I needed for a Explorer 2, so I could have bought it outright, and it was really tempting to do that. I mean, I was looking at acquiring a second Rolex piece, and it was a beautiful watch, and it looked nice, but it really wasn't what I wanted. Yeah, it was a Rolex, and I think I was looking at the price tag more than anything. I think you can look at the brand, the model, but I think you should look at both. And, you know, for those of us like myself who just love this brand so much, it's easy to look at a Rolex and you buy it more because it's a Rolex than really what it is. And that's the lens through which I was looking at that Air King. It's not that I really wanted the Air King. I didn't really want an Air King, but it was a good watch, a good Rolex watch that I could afford right then and there. And I've often wondered if I had gotten it, how I would, if I'd have it, and if I would have kept it or flipped it. And the thing is, I'm not really a flipper. I tend to get attached to watches, and so that's one of the reasons why I really have to be careful about what I buy, because I don't like letting pieces go. I'm very afraid that I'm going to regret it and not be able to replace a watch. So I'm not sure that I'd have the Air King if I had gotten it. And that's a good question, but I very likely would. And if I did, that would have stood in the way of getting other pieces that I really wanted, like the Explorer 2. So who knows, maybe I would have realized it, flipped it, and moved on. But I'm glad in retrospect that I didn't get it. So my whole point in talking about this is, you know, the idea of a starter piece. In my opinion, somebody should identify what they want, zero in on it, and focus on it and save for it and get it. I think that's the way forward. I think that's the best thing to do. You know, I mentioned looking at Rolex watches and liking it because of the Rolex and not so much the watch. And I'll give you a great example of that, the Oyster Quartz. It's a quartz watch. You know, it's kind of a dated look. The integrated bracelet's kind of angular and weird looking, but it's a Rolex, right? If I step back, I realize I don't really like the watch. And even if I found one for $2,000 or $3,000, I think I'd get it. And once the novelty wore off, and I think it would wear off very quickly, I'd realize I just got it because it's a Rolex. It's got the Rolex name on it. And so, you know, luckily, I have identified this sort of fault, this fixation on watches that have the word Rolex on it with me, and I've identified that I'm likely to purchase because of that word on that watch. And so I sort of pause and think, you know, do I really want this watch? And so I can say that the three Rolexes that I have, I really, not only did they have that wonderful word on the dial, but I really like the watch in and of itself. So, a starter Rolex is a great question. What do you guys think about it? I do remember somebody reading in a forum, a man who was getting ready to get into Rolex, and he bought an Air King right off the bat. And his justification was that he had a small child and wanted a waterproof watch and wanted something that could handle spills and, you know, piss and throw up and baby excrement and washing the baby, all those things, and it's a great great choice for that. But I had the feeling in his post that he would move on from it, and part of me would suggest that you go cheaper and maybe skip that starter piece and just go straight to what you really want. Hopefully he could flip it and not lose money, and that's the great thing about a Rolex, because you can make your money back most of the time. If you buy wisely, you can at least break even, and in that sense you can use the piece for free. Hopefully you can make a bit of money. Anyway, yeah, what would I suggest a person's starter piece be? I'd suggest it be their grail, to be honest. Just go straight to it. Let me know what you guys think about this. Does anybody have a different philosophy in that regard? Thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time.